Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Well, as any year ends, people start thinking about what made the year for them. They start posting highlight reels on TikTok or Instagram, sharing favorite moments during New Year's toasts. Well, we want to hear your own personal highlights of 2025. What have been your most memorable experiences this year? We would love to hear from you. We'll hear about the biggest news stories in BC, the best books of the year, the most viral pop culture moments. It is 2025 in review. I'm Michelle Elliott. Welcome to BC Today. Thank you for joining us on CBC Radio and live streaming as well. You can call us right now. What is your personal highlight of 2025? What's been your most memorable experience of the year? What would you put on your Instagram highlight reel? Love to hear from you. Our numbers, 604-669-3733. That's 604-669-3733. You can also dial 1-800-825-5950. You can just hit pound 690 if you like. Our email as well is bctoday@cbc.ca. And if you're watching us on TikTok, you can leave a comment there. Well, weather always makes big news in BC. In fact, Haida Gwaii and Northwest BC have had sections of highway washed out after an atmospheric river. Joining us for the latest on that and the biggest weather stories this year is CBC's climate and science specialist, Darius Mahdavi. Hi, Darius.
Hey, Michelle.
Well, tell us the latest in terms of the forecast for the northwest part of the province.
Well, a little bit of good news. That rain is starting to taper off and head further south. So the North Island's starting to get grazed by that precipitation, but that means it's moved off of Haida Gwaii. That rainfall warning has stuck around longer for the north coast, especially by the water. But fortunately, Haida Gwaii, where we can see this highway being that's been washed out, really not getting the brunt of that precipitation anymore, which is a really positive change. Now, there isn't really any particularly heavy precipitation in the forecast. As we get into Thursday, so New Year's Day, we'll likely see another round of rain, but much less intense this time around, and generally things are drying out. So a little bit of good news there, especially after that fire hose of moisture that's been aimed at Haida Gwaii and the north coast. In fact, for those watching, take a look at this map. We can see that fire hose of moisture heading in. For those who are just listening, it's just all the atmospheric moisture that earlier, about a month ago, was heading down towards California or towards Vancouver, or even just a few weeks ago, then had been aimed at Haida Gwaii over the last 72 hours or so, which is really what drove the flooding that we've seen, and the reason that we have flood watches still in place for Haida Gwaii and parts of the north coast.
You know, atmospheric rivers have affected other parts of the province, as we know, just very recently in the Fraser Valley and parts of the interior. When you look back at the year, Darius, what are some of the biggest stories that stand out for you?
Oh, well, atmospheric rivers,
is right.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah. Atmospheric rivers, of course, make the list. That flooding in the Fraser Valley, of course, for many folks, reminiscent of what happened in 2021. Though the extent of the flooding wasn't as severe, there was a lot of uncertainty, and weather events like that can drive a lot of fear, especially as we headed towards the holidays. So that was a very impactful event. Atmospheric rivers as a whole, not generally very concerning for BC. A lot of our rain, a third to half of our rain every year, comes from those events. But still, when they get particularly intense, it can be something of concern. Now, other things that really stuck out for me was that heat wave we had in the late summer. We got a big blast of rain about mid-August, which really helped improve fire conditions. But after that, a really intense heat wave that then drove those fire conditions back up. Speaking of which, we had almost double the normal amount of area burned in 2025 compared to the 20-year average. That is much better than what we saw in 2023 and 2024, but that's really just a testament to how nasty those fire seasons were, and less so that we saw a good fire season this year. There were less fire starts than usual, most of them lightning caused, so well done everybody who obeyed the fire bans and was fire safe. But it is something that we will have to continue to work on in terms of prevention and everything. Although the BC Wildfire Service, as we heard from Benit earlier, has been really investing in this and improving things. and they were able to share resources with other provinces that really struggled, because this was actually Canada's second worst fire season on record as a whole, even though BC did a little bit better than we have recently. The drought situation has improved drastically compared to the last couple of years, which was really good news at the end of the drought season. At the end of the summer, we got more rain, which has been very, very helpful. Snowpack still isn't great on the south coast right now, but it is improving. It is above average, actually, on the province as a whole. Really just this warm weather that's been a problem for the south coast, although we're back to seasonal now. And really, those are the big things. And I'm happy to be able to, it's been a while since I've been able to include a good news weather story in one of these roundups, but the fact that drought has been improving is a really big deal.
Yeah, thinking back, you're absolutely right. Thinking back to previous years, especially, right? And how much drought was such a concern. And you point out that BC, not necessarily because it was a good wildfire year, but just in relation, relative to previous years, and of course, relative to prairie provinces this year as well, when it comes to how much they were severely affected by wildfires. You know, we talk to you, Darius, whenever there's an extreme weather event, and you do such a good job of giving us the context, the reasons, and what the forecast might be. It's become, as we deal with climate change, such a crucial job, right? For you personally, I'd love to know what's been a highlight for the year.
Oh, well, first of all, thank you. That was very kind. But man, it's been a good year. I mean, I've been able to get out into nature a lot more. In fact, one of my highlights of the year actually intersected with one of the big weather events. For folks who remember the Mount Underwood fire, which was by Port Alberni and burned on the island. We don't usually see wildfires of that intensity or size on Vancouver Island just because of how, it's a coastal rainforest or a temperate rainforest. But the intensity of that fire was such that folks couldn't take some of the main roads on the island. And I was doing the West Coast Trail, this 7-day generally hike that you need that road to access unless you want to take the old logging roads. When that fire really took off. So we had just arrived about a day before we started doing the West Coast Trail, which was one of the best experiences of my life. But the whole time we knew that this fire was burning. We couldn't see it from the trail, but I had people messaging me, asking about it, asking about whether we could see the fire, whether it was affecting things, because Parks Canada had to say that people shouldn't start the West Coast Trail from that end where you had to take that road because of the fire. So it was a really interesting experience where I was out, enjoying nature, something that we all have access to, very fortunate to have access to in BC, and that, we should all try and do as much as we can of, while also dealing with one of these big weather events. So it's a weird thing where it stands out both in terms of my job and in terms of my own personal experience.
Exactly, and the way that your profession, I see people calling you to find out more, and you're like, I'm out here. And that's quite the accomplishment. Don't just gloss over it. Doing the West Coast Trail, by the way, that's amazing.
Thank you.
The rest of us can just aspire. Darius, happy holidays to you. I know you're in Toronto working from there. Thank you so much for taking the time with us.
Thank you. Happy New Year, everybody.
That's Darius Mahdavi, CBC's climate and science specialist, bringing us the top stories in weather in British Columbia in 2025. Well, we're taking your calls, asking you what is your own personal highlight of the year? What stands out for you when it comes to what's happened in your life? And what are your biggest memories of 2025? We would love to hear your stories. Our numbers, 604-669-3733. Again, 604-669-3733 or 1-800-825-5950. 1-800-825-5950. Our email address is bctoday@cbc.ca, and we are live on TikTok. Well, one of the biggest themes when it comes to news of the year was, of course, Canada-U.S. relations. I mean, how many times did you hear the term elbows up this year? This was, of course, amid Donald Trump's suggestion that Canada should become the 51st U.S. state. Well, we did a lot of coverage on that. And back in January, CBC's Gurpreet Kambo and Zach Orobko went to the streets of Vancouver to get reaction.
As much as he's trolling around, and I don't think it's a serious threat, I think it draws concern for the rhetoric around how we speak to each other. on an individual level and on a global scale as well?
Well, like a lot of things he says, I think it starts off as trolling, and once he sort of gets some positive reinforcement, whether that's from his current base or people here up in Canada, it does sort of transition into something a bit more serious. I don't think a lot of us thought he would win when he was first running. He's a businessman, he's just trying to do this for publicity. But when he wins, that's something you need to sort of consider with a bit more tact.
Whatever is good for the people, whatever is good for Canadians, whatever is good for the economy. Because right now I feel like everyone is being selfish. You know, they care more about themselves. I'm talking about politicians. They should care about the people first and set politics aside.
Kind of a childish answer to a big problem. I think it won't solve anything if Canada becomes the 51st state.
Not great. Hopefully nothing bad comes from his interest in that. Obviously, you could see some conveniences to it, but proudly Canadian, I'd like to say that way.
Some reaction back in January to the suggestion that Canada become the 51st state. Of course, Canada-U.S. relations being a big top news story throughout the year here in 2025. We're taking your calls personally for you. What was the big story? What was your personal highlight of 2025? What's your most memorable experience this year? We'd love to hear from you. Our numbers are 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, 604-669-3733. You just hit pound 690 on your cell phone if you like, or email bctoday@cbc.ca. Taking your comments on TikTok as well. Well, to talk now about the most memorable books of the year, I'm joined in studio by Jennifer Kim, owner of Nooroongji Books on Granville Island in Vancouver. Jennifer, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's very nice to see you.
So nice to see you.
What has the year been like at Nooroongji Books on Granville Island?
It's been a really great year. It's really passed by so fast.
Yes.
This year. We've had a number of amazing book clubs and different author launches and just wonderful community building and great holiday season as well.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, what to you is the importance of the bookstore in 2025?
Yeah, I think that as we, become more and more, technologically engaged, it's such an important thing to remember how to practice humanity and to be with each other in like a physical space. And, every interaction, every connection that we make matters. And in a physical bookstore, that's where we really feel that, every query, every hello, every, moment that we share about our favorite books or books that we hated or whatever it is, it becomes something that, is a little bit real and authentic.
I imagine. I love that conversation of what are you reading? And I know that you're a multilingual bookstore. So are there any languages that have been the top sellers when it comes to books?
Yeah, so the top 3 languages that have really moved this year, Spanish language books, and French, of course. And we've been really excited to be able to bring in more for French language books this year, both adult and children's. And then also Tagalog is always a top seller for us. We have a huge Tagalog speaking community here, and we're really proud to be able to serve them.
I know I've seen at your bookstore the kids' books, which I know can be so helpful for parents wanting to teach their kids how to speak Tagalog. So interesting. We've asked you as well what your own favorites of the year are. I see you have a stack of books there, as you always do.
Yes.
So how about we start with 3 that have really stood out for you?
Yeah, well, okay, so make sneaky art.
I love the illustration on the cover.
Yeah, so
like a drawing of people. Is that at a counter, at a cash register?
I believe, yeah. So this is Nishant Jain. He goes around and like does all these kind of, minute drawings or shorter all around town, and it's just like daily scenes of his life. At stores, at transportation like SkyTrain, bus, cafes.
Oh my goodness, I love that.
Yeah, he's really famous on Instagram and TikTok too. Nishant Jain, the sneaky artist. And we had a big book launch event with him this fall, and it's just like a runaway success. It's more than just a how-to book. It's more than just how to incorporate art into your life. It's a why book. It's why you ought to slow down, take a moment, and absorb the world around us.
You know, I'm going to pause there because we have someone on the line who has one of those moments that they probably wanted to absorb from the year. And we're taking your calls as well. What are your personal highlights of 2025? Your most memorable experiences of the year? Our number is 604-669-3733, 1-800-825-5950. And Robert is calling us from Kelowna with an experience that your son had. Hi, Robert.
Actually, it was me and my son. We were driving from Cranbrook back to Sparwood, and it was nighttime. And all of a sudden he said, "Dad, I think we just hit an owl." So we went
my
back,
goodness.
went driving down the road looking for it, and it was this little small barn owl, and he's still alive, sitting on the road. I guess he thought he saw a mouse. We had taken it to a rescue lady in Sparwood area. She looked at it and that. They phoned Vancouver and they checked the eyes. Yeah, the owl was okay. And she was saying when she had the owl, she went to the bathroom where the owl was, and it flew and landed on her hand. Now we got to take the owl. We had to bring the owl back to where we found it to release it, and we got to videotape it along with our phone and that. And I got to actually put my hand into like the little cage we had it, and it was on my hand. I took the owl out and I got to hold it there, and then it flew away. But we got all these videos of it, how it was moving its head and that, and watching us as we were talking. It was so cute. Just the tip right in my hand. It was kind of neat, and I was glad I got videos of it.
Yes, that's it, right? Savoring the moment. And how old is your son, Robert?
Well, my son is he's in his middle 40s.
Yeah. So so I was thinking of a young boy, but so the two of you, and so how did he feel about the whole thing?
Well, he was excited. He thought, "Yeah, wow," he got to see this owl and things like that. And we got to he went to go put his hand in, but he thought, "Oh, maybe this thing might bite me, right?" But when I got my hand in, put it in, it jumped on my hand.
Oh.
Got it. Yeah, and I pulled it out, held it in my hand for like a few seconds, and then the owl flew away. It was kind of neat because I actually got to hold this owl. It's kind of neat because it adds up to the other one. When I was living on Vancouver Island, I'd actually found an eagle that couldn't fly because it had got mercury in the thing. So I'd actually held a big bird and a small bird. So, yeah.
So it reminded you of that experience from when you were little.
Oh, yeah, no, I was an adult. That's why I used to do firewood, right? And we were...
Yeah. So, Robert, that's amazing that it was such a good memory for you that you wanted to call in and share this experience. Yeah. Super cool that you had the videos too.
Yeah. How many people actually get the opportunity to but actually to rescue an owl and find out the owl's okay, and to actually ride with the owl, talking and watching its head move and everything, and watching us as we were talking, and then actually getting to let it go. In my heart I was hoping, I hope you would fly back, but no, it didn't happen.
Well, you went to great lengths to be able to rescue it as well, making the call and taking it to a place. So good on you, and thank you so much for sharing your story.
All right.
Take care.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Robert. Oh my goodness, wasn't that a great story?
That's so cute.
Just the kind of experience that this author chronicles in his book.
Yeah, just everyday things and finding wonder in these happenstances.
Oh, I love that. Okay, what's another book you'd like to share?
Okay, so one of our top sellers this year was my first book of Tagalog words. And if you like that, I think you might like this. It's called Holding On, and it is a book written by an author who grew up in the Philippines. The illustrators also grew up in the Philippines, and it's a story about a grandmother, Lola, who is sort of, losing her memory sometimes, but there are still elements that the family can share together, and there's music always that brings them back together.
Oh, of course, music in a Filipino household goes without saying.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And what a
story.
beautiful cover as well
Yeah.
of the Lola and the little child. Our email again, our phone number, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, 604-669-3733, asking you for your biggest memories of 2025. What's an experience that you had that you're going to take away with you, that you want to write about or talk about? Your highlight of the year. Did you travel somewhere? Did you get a new job or quit your old job? Love to hear from you. Again, 604-669-3733. I'll repeat that again, 604-669-3733. Our email is bctoday@cbc.ca. And Sarah writes us, my most memorable experience of 2025 was continuing to live with long COVID and my status as a disabled person with the consequential financial impacts. Like 2023 and 2024, the PWHL being financially profitable and young girls having a league to dream of playing in professionally continues to be the highlight for me. Oh, wonderful. As I watch the women who are the magic age to play in the league right now. Sarah, thank you very much. I'm sorry for what you've been dealing with your health. Thank you for sharing your memory or what you see as a highlight with a women's hockey league, which I think is a highlight of the year for sure. Thank you very much. BC Today at cbc.ca. And lots of emails coming in now. We'll go through them for you. BC Today at cbc.ca. We're watching your comments on TikTok as well. And our number is 604-669-3733, 604-669-3733. And Jennifer, what about, we'll go to your third suggestion, but if someone is kind of thinking, heading into 2026, I'd like to read more. I'd like to become a reader. What's some advice that you have?
Oh, I have so many.
I bet you do.
Yes. I think the most important thing is to stop shaming ourselves for not reading enough or for not reading the right things or not being a book person. Because I think we need to understand that we actually read all day long, every single day. Whether it's, even content on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, a lot of those things are written. Shows, movies, films, they're all written first. It's really not about, the content. It's more about the form. And so when we can understand that, it's less about our identity as, oh, we're not a reader. It's just about finding the right format for us that works for us. So I would put the onus of pleasure for reading on the books and not yourself. There's nothing wrong with you if you don't like, the top hot best books, XYZ, of the year. Read wide and quit fast. And I would say eschew trends. Just follow your own weird interests. And my top tip also is just to use the library voraciously for previews and first passes at books. If you're not sure about something, definitely utilize the resources that we have for free to take a look at, the first few pages, a few chapters, see how you like it. And then when you become friends with that book, then you can purchase that at your local bookstore. And we'll encourage that.
Yeah, I spend an inordinate amount of time in my local library.
Absolutely.
But you're right when it comes to the form. I have started buying into or hopping on board the audiobook train.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I have found it. I used to kind of issue it myself. But now, this year, I found actually I'm still able to do other things, or I can be on transit or whatever, but still read. It is considered reading, an audiobook, and I've really enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
So there you go. There's an example of that. A couple of people chiming in now to share their highlights of 2025. Colleen is on the line in Abbotsford. Hi, Colleen.
Hi there.
Hi, welcome to the show. What memory from the year would you like to share?
Well, we'll start off by saying that I'm really glad I found your show. I'm not a Christmas person. We don't celebrate. And I don't like all the music on the radio. So I switched channels and I found you. And I'm actually, anybody gets in my car and says, what's this? I'm like, listen. Just listen. I love you guys. I'm not going back to those radio channels. However, for the best of 20, I'm not sure it sounds right for what you're looking for, but I'm 6 years old and I twisted my ankle and fell and broke my small bone in my leg.
Oh, dear.
And it really laid me up. I mean, I can't believe how much things hurt at this age. However, to say that something great comes out of something bad is so true, you know? Like, all the people that gathered around me were there to help me take my dog for a walk. I didn't get out as much as I would prefer to because I'm not a very good passenger. I drive and I drove for a living. And, you know, it's not fun, but if you go to Costco parking lot when you haven't been out of the house in 4 weeks, you have a great time. You will have
Even there, huh?
Sit in the parking lot with your broken leg and just be, because I was allowed out if I just kept my mouth quiet in the car and I could just sit and I watched. And there's joy everywhere. You look, you can find it. We don't celebrate Christmas, but it's just been, you know, it's been different. We decided we're going to celebrate winter solstice. I think on your radio, time ago, you spoke with a lady who is Indigenous, and they're not doing the Christmas gifts, and they're going to celebrate winter solstice. I'm going to do that too.
Oh, Colleen, you have found a way to celebrate despite having had this injury. And I'm so glad to hear that people surrounded you and rounded up to be able to help you. That's, as you said, finding the beauty in challenges. And thank you very much for calling us and joining us. I'm so glad you found our show. I hope you keep listening. Thank you very much for the call. That's Colleen in Abbotsford, and all the best in your recovery, too. Our numbers, again, love to hear from you. What is your own highlight of 2025? Was there a challenge that you faced? And let us know about that, what it has meant to you and how you've overcome or what's helped you amid that challenge. 604-669-3733, 604-669-3733, 1-800-825-5950. In about 15 minutes from now, we'll hear about the top pop culture moments of 2025. But coming up in a few moments after the news headlines, we'll be back with Jennifer Kim of Nooroongji Books and take you through more of the top books of the year as well. Right now, it is 12:32. Time for a CBC News Update with Robert Zimmerman.
Good afternoon. Heavy rain has shut down a major route on the north coast. Highway 16 remains closed in both directions between Prince Rupert and Terrace. The road surface has been flooded and an assessment is underway. There's no word when the route might reopen. Environment Canada says more than 200 millimeters of rain fell in the Prince Rupert area in recent days. Meanwhile, heavy rain also fell on Haida Gwaii, and a stretch of the highway north of Skidegate has been washed out. The Haida Nation website says back roads and remote routes are not considered safe alternatives at this time. And police here in Metro Vancouver say they have seized almost 100 kilograms of illicit drugs worth close to $4 million after a 6-month investigation. A 29-year-old man has been arrested. The seizure included 15 kilograms of cocaine, 41 of methamphetamine, and 41 kilograms of cannabis concentrate. And now the forecast. The rainfall warning continues for the north coast with up to 120 millimeters expected. Highs around -9 and mainly cloudy in the Peace. In the central interior, including Prince George, flurries and showers with a high of +1. Highs from -6 to -1 with a mix of sun and cloud in the Kootenays. In the southern interior, including Kelowna, mainly cloudy with a high of -2. And a mix of sun and cloud this afternoon in the Fraser Valley, mainly cloudy in Metro Vancouver and Greater Victoria with highs around 7. That's your CBC News Update from Vancouver.
Rob, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We're talking about highlights of the year for people, so taking calls, and some of them could be books. We have an email from Kaylan who writes, the highlight of my year was rereading all of the series of Unfortunate Events books. These are the Lemony Snicket books, right? I read them as a kid. Well, my parents read them to me until I was old enough to read by myself. And I collected all of the original hardcover editions and devoured them. Kaylan, thank you very much. Right on topic there. Highlight of the year is a book. Yes, I love going through. I actually was in Ontario in the summer, and we went to a lovely secondhand shop in Perth, gorgeous little town in Ontario, and I found an old hard copy of a Nancy Drew book because I devoured them as a kid. And I was just like back to being a little kid again in that store. Kaylan, thank you very much. That's probably one of my highlights too of the year. Our numbers, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. Lots of emails coming in too, asking you for your personal highlights. Ryan writes, for me, the highlight of 2025 would have to be the birth of my son on May 26th. He shares the same birthday as his grandmother, which I think is amazing. And Ryan writes, Happy New Year. Oh, Happy New Year to you. Congratulations. And that is a momentous event of 2025 for you. Congratulations to you and your family, Ryan. Thank you very much for emailing us. You're with BC Today as we take your calls on the open line, asking you what is your personal highlight of 2025? What's your most memorable experience of the year? Our number is 604-669-3733, 604-669-3733. And talking about the top books of the year with me right now is Jennifer Kim, owner of Nooroongji Books on Granville Island in Vancouver. Okay, so you've got us inspired. You had advice for us on how we can start to read or become a reader or continue reading in 2026. But what about this year? What's another book you'd like to recommend?
Yeah, so another one of our top sellers this year was a book called I Want to Die, but I Want to Eat Tteokbokki.
Oh my.
By Park Se-hee. And we sold over 250 copies of this title. And the sad thing about her is she actually passed away this year. And I know that so many people all over the world were talking about how much of an impact she had on just well-being, mental health. The book is about, a vulnerable sort of sharing of her own journey through therapy and how to make herself feel better or just like get by in the day-to-day. And inspired by that popular title, I would recommend this new published book this year, Every Day I Read, by Hwang Bo-reum. You may know this author as the author of the Welcome to the Hyunam-dong bookstore. And this is a book that we read for our book club in December of 2024. And this book is awesome because it gives you micro tips, 53 tips on how you can get closer to books. And there are some really great hints in here. Like if you look at the table of contents, it has so many different ideas, like use the library, just read big books, small books, read on the train, always have a book with you, utilize pockets of free time. There's so many helpful hints and how you can incorporate reading into your life so that it actually enhances and doesn't become a burden.
That is fantastic. Now, going back to the book, I Want to Die, but I Want to Eat Tteokbokki, I had a reaction because I have eaten tteokbokki, and it is very spicy.
Yeah.
But what a lovely reference in that title to that Korean dish.
Yeah, and it's all about just, finding something. Just like a caller had mentioned earlier, if you look around, there's something that can bring us joy every day.
Yeah. And if it is a spicy dish,
even better.
Even better, exactly. Oh my gosh, let's take another call here. John at Brentwood Bay, thanks very much for joining us. And what's your personal highlight of the year?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I love the CBC. I drive for work, and I just have you guys all the time. And I thought today's subject was perfect. And I first-time caller, so
wonderful. Yes, welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. So I had a knee replacement. I'm 47 3 years ago, and because I couldn't really hike and do things I want to do with my kids, and it's gotten to the point in my recovery where I'm able to do hiking, and my son and I were guided up to the top of Mount Baker from my best friend Rob. Shout out to Rob. To the top of Mount Baker in Washington last summer, and it was so special. My whole life I've been staring at that mountain and wondering if I could ever get up on top of it. It's a huge mountain, and to be able to do that was a real highlight. And my son said it was the best day of his life, and it was just such a special moment to share with him. And we've gone on to hike 2 more big mountains on Vancouver Island this last summer as well. So special day. And the people that are wondering, why is he going to the States? Just to let you know, we drove an electric car and didn't spend a penny down there. we were starving for coffee. After 24 hours of hiking, we were starving for a coffee, but we waited till we got to the BC ferries to do that. So.
Oh, yeah, I bet you were starving altogether after that. Yeah, what a wonderful achievement, and so special that you did it with your son, too.
Definitely.
Oh, John, Happy New Year to you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thanks so much, you guys.
I hope you call back again in the new year, okay? Good to hear from you. That's John at Brentwood Bay. We actually have another email here. Let me just go back down to Lenora's email. Let me find it. It's going to take me a little while, I think, to find it once again. But it's bctoday@cbc.ca if you want to share your own memories that stand out for you. And here it is. I found Lenora's email now. In order to move, Lenora writes, your question sent me back to the many months of a difficult year. In order to move toward the light in spite of it all, I volunteered to help backstage at a local production of Kinky Boots. The experience was life-changing for cast and crew members as well, apparently, to audience members as well. This huge-hearted musical celebrated diversity and love. I'm so grateful to have been a part of it. Cheers and love to all in 2026 as well. Apparently 15 sold-out performances. Oh my goodness. Lenora, congratulations. Exactly what you said, right? Literature writing comes in all forms. Absolutely. And there you have it, the popularity of that performance as well. I'm joined here by Jennifer Kim, owner of Nooroongji Books in Vancouver. Let's go through another book that was a highlight for you this year, Jennifer.
Yeah, so another title that we sold many copies of this year was On Tyranny. Over 100 copies sold. We have the original small paperback format as well as the graphic novel version. And for obvious reasons, I think that title was very much top of mind for people this year. And my suggestion for if you liked that, try this, is Sarah Schulman's Conflict is Not Abuse from our local publisher, Arsenal Pulp Press. And this book is interesting to me because it is all about empowerment and how we can bridge divides and conflicts and how we can sort of conceptualize difficult conversations, differences in opinion, and organizing to sort of get to a better place. And the main points are that, conflict does not necessarily always mean that it's abuse, and that we can take steps to overcome identification with victimhood, and that we can take community responsibility, and that, often the ways that we can do that is to act and to volunteer, like the last caller mentioned. And we can take steps to effect social change in a way that's constructive and not destructive.
That theme of overcoming keeps coming up, doesn't it? And so let me wrap up with you by just saying, how would you describe the role of reading in 2025? What difference it makes to people?
I think reading is such an interesting thing, activity, art, practice, because you are alone, but you're also together. You are communing with, not only the author who's written this book for you, but also with a whole community of people that maybe you haven't met yet who are also reading the same book. Maybe they've liked it, maybe they've hated it. Whatever it is, it's an open door to not just a world that is within the book itself, the content of the book, but it's also an open world to a community of people, like-minded people, different-minded people, but a community. And it's something that we should all practice so that we can practice being human together.
Such a good lesson to leave the year with. Thank you very much, Jennifer.
Thank you so much.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. Thank you.
Jennifer Kim is owner of Nooroongji Books in Vancouver. It's 12:44. Now you're with BC Today. We're taking your calls on your own highlights of the year. And here's another highlight in the sports world. Last February's Four Nations face-off between Canada and the U.S. was one for the books. Now, the game happened, of course, fresh off U.S. President Donald Trump's 51st state rhetoric and was politically steeped in tensions between the two countries. So it was especially symbolic when Canada came out on top. Well, the CBC's Janella Hamilton got some firsthand reaction for people in Vancouver.
It was a nail-biter of a game, but Team Canada has won the inaugural Four-Nation Face-Off tournament against their longtime and very recent rival, the United States, in overtime, no less. that had many hockey fans here in Vancouver literally jumping out of their seats in excitement.
Ecstatic, unbelievable, great game. Since 2010, haven't felt like this. Unbelievable, unbelievable.
That meant a lot, that meant a lot. I am feeling incredible, exuberant, vindicated, and alive.
The game was won by Ontario native Connor McDavid in his first major men's international tournament, effectively a passing of the torch from Team Canada's captain, Sidney Crosby, to the team's next leader. People packed into local bars to take in the game. Here at Red Card Sports Bar, spectators were proudly sporting the maple leaf. With heightened tensions between Canada and the United States due to tariffs and 51st state talk, the game was about much more than just hockey.
This win means we need to carry this momentum forward. I think this is reflective of the passion that we have in this country right now, and I hope the rest of the world takes it as a statement that we're not a country to be messed with.
Relations between Canada and the United States remain frosty, I think it's safe to say the game garnered the attention of these two respective nations. Janella Hamilton, CBC News, Vancouver.
That is Janella Hamilton looking back at Team Canada winning the Four Nations Cup. We're taking your calls and your emails of your personal highlights of 2025. Robin wrote us, I volunteer at a small charity-run thrift store in the West End of Vancouver. My highlight of the year was witnessing a regular visitor go out of their way to help a person who had left their shopping cart of worldly goods outside to find warm shirts and a winter coat and a pair of shoes that fit them. And then this customer paid the whole bill. Robin, that is a highlight. What a great thing to witness. Thank you very much. And Lisa writes, the highlight of the year for me would be solo backpacking in the Rockies for 18 days at the age of 61. Public service announcement, when you're day hiking in the Rockies and you see a backpacker with a large backpack, if you must stop and chat with a person, keep it short, because that backpack is not filled with balloons. Yeah, probably they're carting a lot back there. Lisa, thank you very much. Taking your calls as well. On the open line, what is your personal highlight of the year? Right now, we're going to talk about the top pop culture moments, because they are a big part of our lives now, right? Social media and pop culture. And here to revisit them is the CBC's Ashley Moliere. She's the chronically online columnist for the Early Edition here in Vancouver. Ashley, hello.
Hi.
Okay, so we're talking about these personal highlights of the year, but so much of that, many of us live online. So what were some of the things that really stood out for you when it comes to highlights in pop culture?
Highlights in pop culture. There were a few big moments this year. One of them including every parent, caregiver, and teacher's favorite phrase. I think you know, Michelle. 6, 7.
I'm already, we're already moving our hands.
Yeah,
up and down.
exactly. It's what all the youngins were saying this year. And it comes from a song called Doot Doot by rapper Skrilla. He's actually been really reluctant to say what it means. I think he's just letting the kids take it and run with it.
Oh,
which
and
is
have they
funny.
ever, yeah.
Have they ever, yeah. And it gained popularity throughout the year on apps like TikTok and Instagram when the song was actually used in video edits of basketball player LaMelo Ball. He's 6'7", so that's where it comes from. And the phrase was even coined Dictionary.com's word of the year in 2025, which caused a little bit of controversy. People are like, is it actually a word? Like, I don't really know.
Right, yeah.
Pretty funny. A lot of teachers have had complaints about it. They've tried to ban it from their classrooms, or they've tried to lean in, maybe hoping the embarrassment would, make the kids stop saying it. According to People magazine, actually, fast food burger joint In-N-Out removed the order number 67 from their menu temporarily because so many kids were coming in trying to get that order number.
No matter what it was.
Yeah, so they could film their little TikToks and stuff, you know. So I would say that's a big highlight. As well, Katy Perry in space. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought we would have uttered those words together? Yeah.
Yeah, so she blasted off on Blue Origin's New Shepard rocket, and she wasn't alone. There were some other famous faces on there, including broadcaster and Oprah's best friend, Gayle King, and Jeff Bezos' wife, Lauren Sanchez. He actually owns Blue Origin. And yeah, it's part of this new exploration of the rich and famous, you know, going into space. What can we do that's different from the ordinary?
Right.
And there were some funny moments throughout that too. Like, I don't know if anyone, you know, remembers seeing it because it was broadcast on television and on streaming.
Of course.
But there was a funny moment when Gayle King was walking along the platform and they all had to ring the bell to kind of like ring in that they're there. And after she did it, just like the look of dread on her face, you know, you could tell she was thinking, why am I doing this to myself? And that became kind of a viral moment in itself, you know, people creating memes going like me clocking into work and,
oh my gosh.
and that sort of thing. So yeah, that was a good one. Katy Perry, of course, floating in front of the camera, holding a daisy, laughing and smiling.
That I remember.
Her daughter's name is Daisy, so that's where the reference comes from. And then, of course, when they landed back on Earth, she kissed the ground famously. And, you know, apart from these standout moments, it really sparked a lot of conversations online about, you know, these kind of ridiculous displays of wealth and our celebrities out of touch. You know, a lot of us at that time, you think of Canada, we were dealing with the tariff war and elections. And here's Gayle King talking about being an astronaut when she went to space for 10 minutes.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's just that, you know, like a little bit of that.
They're just like us.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe not so much. And yeah, Katy Perry, of course, just made the news all year because then she went and is now, I think, still dating Justin Trudeau.
She is, yeah, another viral moment.
Another viral.
Yes.
She just went viral all year.
I know.
But another viral romantic relationship this year.
Oh,
Actually,
yeah.
Really, really viral.
Yes,
Yeah.
very viral. That is the engagement of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Love it or hate it, it was huge. 14 million likes within the first hour of that post being up on Instagram. It's now sitting at over 35 million likes. According to Rolling Stone, it's the fastest post to get 1 million reposts on Instagram, breaking a record, which is something we know Taylor loves to do. You know, a lot of it even made like mainstream news. Like I remember being in the newsroom, getting that breaking news notification from CBC News, the entertainment, and everyone in the newsroom talking about it. So yeah, in other words, it was like a classic pop culture moment that broke the internet, right? Like it was very popular. So
it really was.
Yeah.
Ashley Moliere is with me. We'll get to some more of her top pop culture moments in a second, but I do want to jump off of that engagement news that made the pop culture world, that broke the internet this year. But we want to go to someone sharing their own experience this year as well. 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. I think we had a caller who was going to share that they just got married, but we might have lost that caller. I apologize. Congratulations to you. They got married this year. That is big news, of course. If you want to call us back, 604-669-3733. Right now, let's go to Donna in West Vancouver. Hi, Donna. Welcome to the show.
Hi. I'm in West Vancouver, but I actually live in Surrey. And I just want to be appreciative of our provincial health care. I went to Jim Pattison to have every 2 years you have a mammogram, and I went in September to Jim Pattison and did the normal thing. I had a call back the next day to come in. So September 10, 11, and 12, I found out that I had a tumor in my left breast. And by October 20th, I'd had a mastectomy. And as of today, I am doing so well. Not everybody can say the same thing, so I want to be appreciative of those who, you know, don't have the same outcome. But this is my own personal experience, and Jim Pattison and the breast clinic was excellent. Dr. Choa and his group that did the mastectomy, excellent. January 5, I go to BC Cancer and see a doctor to see what the follow-up is subsequent to my surgery. Wow. So I was concerned, with the surgery, am I going to be able to put up my Christmas decorations, put up my Christmas lights? And it all happened. And I had so much support from my nurse practitioner, from friends, from family. People provided suppers and brought them to our house so that I would, because I had no idea what the outcome would be and how mobile I would be.
Yeah.
So the whole experience has been wonderful, and I'm in a good place, and that's my good memory from 2025.
Wow. And you're absolutely right. You know, to hear that you're in a good place amid your diagnosis and having gone through your procedures as well. Donna, thank you so much for sharing that. And here's to good health with you. All the best as you prepare for that appointment in 2026. Okay. Thank you so much for calling.
And just a reminder for women to get your annual or biannual checkup because it can be very helpful to you and your health.
Absolutely. Very good reminder. Can save your life. Donna, thank you so much for the call. Appreciate your sharing your story. And I'm so glad, again, that you're doing well. Let's take another call from Ajit in Penticton. Hi, Ajit. What's been your highlight this year?
Hi, Michelle. Well, I'd like to say, first off, I was fully in my family era this year. I really got to spend a lot of time with my core nuclear family and cousins through a lot of events that we had, including weddings. But the one I wanted to highlight was the graduation of my younger brother from his program at the University of British Columbia, Okanagan.
Oh.
I am a very proud older brother, but I'm also very protective. I remember one time he was hit by a snowball when we were children, and I kind of scared this child into never talking to him again, who may have been his friend. But it's the reason I tell that before I preface where he graduated from is because it provides an understanding as to how close and connected we have been since we were children. So he really was determined to become an engineer. And after 6 hard years of school, he finally graduated with his iron ring in April of 2024. And I remember sitting at this ceremony and seeing him cross the stage and being in absolute tears. I am a 6'7", meme intended, as my hands are going, tall man that was just breaking down like I've never broken down before. But it was out of pure happiness at seeing him mature